The next item we're going to be talking about is our 2025 update and prioritization of unfinished items. So we've been in past retreats really focused on what, coming up with an exercise that helps staff understand what council's priorities were. We've really tried to fine tune that over the years, but the last council retreat really brought it into kind of clarity for staff, and I think council as well, is really we need to be focused on our long-range plan, our 2025 plan, our 2035 plan, bringing that every year to say these are the things we've achieved, and then council telling us what they want prioritized in the next budget year. That way we're really we're consistent in bringing everything tied back to our long-range plan. The oddity of this is that we are focused on the last year of 2025. Next year, you'll have a brand new plan with new goals and everything like that. So it's a little hard to have that continuity, but what we did last year was we brought to you everything that was unfinished in the 2025 plan, asked you guys to prioritize what those things were that you wanted us to try to focus on this last fiscal year. And so we're doing an update on that today. So council determined there were 13 outstanding action priorities from 2025 vision plan that they wanted us to pursue in future years, if not the current year. And so we are going to open a link and just go through our accomplishments of that. So one of them, and bear with me, this will be a little bit of reading, but one of them was to develop a strategy for maintenance and rehab of existing apartment complexes that improve residents' quality of life while continuing to include affordable housing. So this was an action priority established in 2025. We had identified this as something we really didn't have a great answer for last year. We have continued in trying to explore how to, there really are two ways to achieve this. One is through code enforcement with our multifamily inspection, and the other one is through incentives and making, incentivizing the redevelopment of existing multifamily. So we have, council has provided, one is approval of these housing tax credits for the waters at Stone Creek. This is an older apartment complex in Lewisville, and you guys had approved those as well. I think there's a partnership with the county housing authority, and so they are moving forward with redevelopment of that. So again, that's one example of an achievement of the last year. You guys have also provided funding for a notice, basically for affordable housing projects with a focus on rehabilitation of existing multifamily. Last year, we put money, 2 years ago, we had money in our budget. It was not enough to achieve or to attract a developer to come and do something that was really meaningful. We put additional funding this year into that, and Marichelle's team, our economic development team, is currently working with to reach out to various developers to see if there are key projects we can achieve with that funding. It's important to know that right now we have not found the right partner. We are still working on that. So this will be, you'll see in my last slide on this presentation, one of the focus areas that we would like to continue working on in this year as well as future years under 2035, if that's the decision of the committee and council. And then multifamily inspection. I did have a printout, and I think I did not bring it with me. But I will say that Chris McGinn, are you here? Would you mind representing what efforts you guys have made this last year? Because I think it's pretty impressive.
Sure. Thanks, Claire. The multifamily inspection team has received a lot of concerns from residents to look at different locations. We received last year 139 apartment-related complaints, and that resulted in 43 enforcement actions. We see that in 2025, 2026, we've added 7 additional apartment complexes to our list of 105 locations, totaling 28,000 apartment units. It also resulted in a particular violation being identified, and coordinated efforts between the city's code enforcement team and the fire department had a repair of a fire sprinkler system, resulting in $1.2 million worth of upgrades to their system. So doing a lot to really make sure that Lewisville residents are safe in a safe environment.
I do really want to highlight that because that is a really big number that probably council hasn't heard. But the Chris McGinn's team, and with our rewrite of the multifamily inspection program a few years ago, has really forced multiple different departments to work together for the inspection. So it's not just one, Chris McGinn's team working on it. Now we have fire inspection also working on it, which has identified more issues that we were not previously identifying. So that improvement was good. I think what was really happening is during the big snow event, there were some fire sprinkler systems that got damaged, and people and the multifamily were not repairing them. And so by us bringing fire inspection into that, we were able to identify it. Our team went very hard with, taking no prisoners. This is life and safety of the residents there. And so our legal team helped us with that as well, with writing multiple tickets and finally getting compliance from this one facility.
Can I ask about that real quick? So I understand we can find going forward. I hate to think that there's groups out there that can basically say it's not a problem until I get caught. Is there anything that we can do in arrears? Say, okay, you knew this was a problem for 6 months and you're going to be punished in the following ways?
Well, I think now that we have, you're saying like in the past, not like going forward. You're saying like we knew that they had problems.
I'm saying if we catch them doing something like this, they're ignoring a problem, and we have evidence to support the fact that they knew it was a problem 6 months prior, can we increase the fines and penalties?
You can, if there's like flagrant issues, you can require max fines. We
Okay.
just have to let the legal team know that and go after that.
Thank you.
And actually, I think that's what happened with this one.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Next up, we had continue and expand the police and code compliance department's nuisance abatement program for beyond just multifamily hotel and motel properties. So council, you're aware that in this last year in 2025, we did adopt the revised nuisance abatement program. It has now become citywide, and PD has created a committee to conduct monthly reviews of the properties. An interesting note, though, is since creation, no properties have actually fallen into the program. They have not met the criteria to be able to fall within the program. So on one hand, that's good. They don't have the crime stats that put them into the program, but our police department will be, one of the goals we have on the end is for the police department to be monitoring that and see if there's a fine tuning of that we need to do over the next year. Involve the entire diverse community in implementation of Lewisville 2025 and in service on city boards and commissions. We made a lot of efforts in this regard. Of course, this was the year of engagement. So we increased our outreach to boards and commissions, making videos to try to get folks to join our team for decision-making on boards, as well as our steering committee, our 2035 steering committee that we put in place of 120 members, and council accepted everyone who had applied for that board. We also have, we always collect demographic data for board appointments, just for informational purposes, and we have continued to expand the Lewisville Community Ambassadors Program and Citizens University. We did hire Rio Planning to develop a strategy to reach our Hispanic population during 2035, and we have had to fine-tune that over the last year, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to 2035. We designed and launched the Meeting in a Box program. I think some of you in this room have actually held some of those meetings in your neighborhoods. And then we started using door knocking to get greater input from the community. Also, our city secretary's office has worked with departments to make sure there was stricter enforcement for rules of unexcused absences on boards and commissions. That is meant to make sure that we have meaningful attendance at our boards and commissions, so that we, if people aren't really interested in showing up, well, we have other people in the community that do want to serve. Council asked us to provide make sure we were providing free public Wi-Fi at all parks. That was a goal in our 2025 plan. So we have this year, we have Austin Kent Ellis, Creekview Park, Orchard Valley Park, Rawdon Lake Cities Park, East Hill Park, and Memorial Park is scheduled for in March of 26. Central Park has a Wi-Fi expansion, and then we have next parks we're talking about as well. You can see right there. So we're making our efforts for that, and that will continue beyond this. Next one. Can you roll up a little bit, Melissa? Thank you. Then you wanted to evaluate additional activities that would bring people to Old Town. So with that, we have hired our economic development team hired a new retail consultant to actively attract new retail to Old Town. They are currently working on that. We had the opening of Buffalo Hirsch, but also many other restaurants and retail establishments. Buffalo Hirsch was just, I think, near and dear to us because we did our RFP and council was very involved in that. Our Art Center Sculpture Garden is going to be open. We completed completion and activation of the Old Town Pocket Park. We are expanding our Juneteenth special events to now call it the Cookout, and it'll be a multi-day event in Old Town. Opening of the Visitors Information Center in the Well House. We're also going to have activation of the surrounding areas with outdoor games that our staff in the VIC can then pull in and out at night. And then our economic development policy updates, you'll see that later today, but there is going to be opportunities for growing small businesses in Old Town as well as micro manufacturing. And then working our partnership with the Old Town Business Association, we're trying to take First Fridays to the next level.
Claire, I want to lean into Old Town
Absolutely.
real quick. So if you haven't been down in that area on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night, the vibe has changed dramatically. It's fantastic. It's always bumping. Buffalo Hirsch has really helped activate that corner. I look across, I sit at Perk, like on a Thursday night, Thursday evening, I look across, I can see people boxing and JC's over there. I drop by Pink Chapel, there's always people going through. Kava's great. It's, of course, the Grand is just the Grand. It does great things with the renovation going over. But the vibe over there has changed so much in the last probably 5 years. It's just fantastic. If you haven't had a chance to go out there, you got to experience. It's really nice down there.
Absolutely. We had improve and access the connection of all residents to jobs, education, and resources. This, I think, will always be something we're aiming towards, but we had continued partnership with DCTA to improve microtransit, installation of a little free library at Glory Park, donation and rezoning of the Old Town Fire Station for the Boys and Girls Club. The library hosted setting financial goal programs. The library hosts the library is a very big player in this space, but I'm only putting new things. They are already doing a ton of this, so just recognition for the library team. We completed our economic mobility study related to childcare and trades education. We continue conversations with Texas State Technical College and are trying to figure out creation of a floodplain modeling for the intended site, and we also funded and have rolled out Nature's on Wheels, no pun intended. Roll down. You wanted us to... What?
And yet there it was.
And there it was. And you wanted us to use data to identify demographics and geographies where more events and interactions are needed between residents. So part of that is our expansion of our Zen City scope of work to complete our biannual city surveys. You're going to hear about that next. And then we did target outreach for community input. The police department has rolled out geographic accountability and continue to build upon that over the year, and break down their statistics by geographic areas to help police officers be able to understand what the crime statistics are in their area and how to better serve. We've hired RIO again. Thrive scholarships are based on zip codes to identify deserts of folks that are not utilizing memberships. We also initiated a Project Smarter, which I'll talk about in just a second. And then we had our branch out program, which basically is talking about tree planting in certain areas. And that's based on a variety of demographic information, but also tree canopy data. So council may not have heard of Project Smarter. That is something that's been internally driven by myself. It actually is the title Project Smarter, Not Harder, but it's a mouthful, so we call it Project Smarter. So what that is we are already a data-driven city, but I have challenged all of the teams to find ways, we know we're a lean organization, to use data to make working more streamlined and to make services more meaningful. The idea there is if we are working on inefficient, one of the problems with government is that government tends to only get bigger. So one of the issues is look at what the data shows, and if there are programs that are ineffective, we are willing to cut those programs that are ineffective. Obviously, there may be a meaning to those or a background of why we do those things regardless, but we will look at all of those things. So Project Smarter is a goal of ours, and we will be bringing in the future a workshop to council to highlight some of the programs that we have put in place and the data we're actually using to justify those program changes. Expand dialogue with communities of color to understand their experience and identify actions to improve Lewisville as a place for them to live and work. So you can see a variety of the things we've done. I won't go through all of that, but we have made some good efforts in that regard as well. We request to secure adequate green centerpiece resource and funding. So this was really, this goal in 2025 was created when we were first thinking about partnering with the Autobahn, which the Autobahn doesn't really get into this realm anymore, partnering with LISD at the time to build a joint nature center, and then LISD went and built their education center out in Lisdola. And so this has changed over the years, but what we have identified funding for the Nature Center. You're going to see the conceptual design today, towards the end of the day, and we did update our Green Centerpiece Master Strategy that was adopted by all partners this last year. You wanted us to develop an inventory of retail establishments in Lewisville for use in communication, marketing, and business supports. So we did purchase this year a software agreement with Executive Pulse, and that is housed with the economic development team. They have purchased data that allows us to find out what businesses are in our community, and we are now truing that up with our certificates of occupancy and our fire prevention records. And then the database is also doing updates. We will roll that out. Primarily, it's going to be used for, like the plan said, for communications, but I could also see it being valuable for council members, understanding kind of what businesses are in the community and from that engagement standpoint. There was desire for us to look at Central I-35 and work with owners to offer incentives. Obviously, with economic development, any type of redevelopment, it's not like the amount of effort you put in is always what you get out. Economic development is not like, building a street. So with that, we have adopted the Business 121 Corridor Plan. Economic Development has been working with the owners of Lakeland Plaza for a redevelopment. We're still working through that. There are the I-35 breakout projects. I will say that this area development is not happening usually during the road construction. So once that completes, you will then start seeing some of that coming to fruition. We also have the I-35 graphic package, and then we have hired a design firm, and this is something that council's not aware of. But when we are realigning Mill Street to Business 121, the end of the current Mill Street will be, you guys do know this, will be a dead end right around the Pines Motel, that area, a little bit further in. But we didn't really have, TxDOT just worries about the concrete, so not really what happens with the leftover property. And so we really feel like there's an opportunity, a missed opportunity, if we don't do some type of conceptual design of what that looks like. There's going to be a lot of green space potentially that's out there that can be beautified. I'm not sure it will be a place like a park because it's right along Business 121, but there is some opportunities for beautification and functionality. Wayfinding. So I think this was really intended to be more like a centralized wayfinding program throughout the city. We did focus on Old Town Lewisville having our Main Street entry feature that was installed. We're currently working on the design of Mill Street entry feature. And then we have the funding and working with TxDOT to have additional Lewisville monument sign in Southwest Lewisville at 3040 and Old Orchard. You guys funded that. But I do think what this was really intending for is having in the future a wayfinding package that's throughout the city. So you have, signs that are very consistent in the branding of Lewisville, and it may say, Memorial Park, next exit or something like that. You will see that in many other cities. Lewisville does not have that. So that would probably be something we will be bringing forward in 2035. And then increase collaboration with social service agencies and utility providers and others. This is talking about in moments of crisis, making sure we're more adaptable, things like that. So in the last year, we have established a community champions program in Lewisville that is to train our residents on what to do in the event of a crisis that happens. We've also been countywide, which is a little bit kind of the next level beyond community champion program is CERT training, and people in our community can sign up for that, and we are actually now hosting that for Denton County at the Tittle McFadden Public Safety Center. We signed an interlocal agreement for animal control services during a community disaster, donation and rezoning of the old fire station to Boys and Girls Club. We also signed an agreement with United Way of Denton County to be a third-party entity that would accept donations for Lewisville in the event of a mass-scale emergency. So in those situations, while we're trying to deal with the emergency and people want to donate money to a city, you really need to have a third-party fiduciary that is going to take in that money and not get in the way of kind of the day-to-day operations. And Denton County had already signed one with the United Way, so we agreed to do the same thing. We're working on centralized volunteer management program, and we are working on right now contracting with a church or another nonprofit for overnight sheltering. We did have a last minute change of plans with Salvation Army where they were not willing to do overnight sheltering during the last event, and that put our Parks Department on duty for running the shelter. I think they did an exceptional job, but we are going to have to figure out a different staffing model than what we did. It was very hard to keep other facilities open. Luckily, everything was mostly closed, but when things started opening up, it was really taxing for the Parks Department and our police department as well to staff that. So the best thing is for us to find a way to partner with a third party, and then we can provide support with them. But more to come on that. And that's it. I wanted to go to the next slide. This is what work we believe needs to still be accomplished, but I wanted to have a checkpoint with council to see if there's anything else you feel like we're missing. But we do need to, we're still working with economic development and the developers out there to finalize what is our economic development strategy for the rehabilitation and quality of life, the rehab of existing multifamily, where we're focused on maintaining affordable housing. So we have that NOFA, but we're really trying to find what is that strategy. We're trying 2 different paths right now, and hopefully in the next year we'll hit on that. We want to sustain and refine our nuisance abatement efforts with our police department. We want to always increase inclusive engagement and representation. We want to complete our park Wi-Fi expansions. We want to continue to advance Old Town business incubation. I think you'll see in your economic development policy how we're trying to really focus on that for small businesses. And then we want to develop and implement a wayfinding signage strategy. Is there anything else we're missing? Because we will bring those into our discussions with the steering committee.
Council?
So I don't know if there's anything necessarily missing. This just popped into my head a couple days ago as we were thinking about the murals that are going up around with the Edgar Allan Poe mural that's coming up for a vote soon. And I started wondering about, we have some great murals in the city, and I started wondering about maybe that's an opportunity to start attracting people into the city even more if we become the mural city. We have lots of murals around, and you can actually have a game and go find mural A, mural B, mural C. So, Councilwoman McCade, I just saw that face, so if you want to lean into that a little bit, I'd like to hear that.
Oh, no, honey, I gave birth to an artist.
Oh, fantastic.
I love
Okay.
murals.
Okay. Well, I thought maybe this was a program I just wasn't aware of that's already going on. That was, no? Okay. All right. So anyway, it's something I'd like to talk about as we go into 2026.
Other comments?
With that, is that something you're wanting us to focus on with 20, and really with all this discussion? Is it just putting it into the bringing it to the steering committee about getting feedback about putting that into the 2035 plan, or is that something you're wanting as a short term, we want to focus on this in the upcoming budget?
So I'm kind of an immediate kind of guy. I'm not super patient. But I just like to have the discussion with council. So I think that's probably the next step is this something we want to do as a city? And that's my
It
thoughts.
goes into our our public art
Yeah.
programs and stuff like that too. So we need to
Yeah.
bring everybody on board.
Yeah, and this would be more of a strategy, not so much here's a mural going up here or there, but what does it look like in 5 years? Do we have 20, 30, where they go, what other places do we want to focus on, spread them out? But it's a strategic effort for becoming a mural city that would attract people to come in and find these murals and engage with them.
But
that's the
everything in
discussion.
moderation as well too, because we don't want to look like Main Street graffiti when it gets done.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we don't want graffiti.
And just for that point, just things to think about is we do have a very not limited, but it's a cap from what we can use hotel occupancy tax for art. So that would mean if we were going to shift everything from, and maybe this is the discussion you're wanting to have, but you're shifting everything from, sculpture and thing like that to murals, that would probably, if you're wanting to make that effort and that to be the goal, you're probably shifting things from other forms of art. And then the other thing to know is that we do have, and it's in your economic development policy later today, is solidifying that we have a grant for murals as well. So it's not just public art, it can be an incentive for the private developer to put that on as well.
I think I like that better.
Yeah, I think what you're hearing from me is not so much we got to do this, but I'd like to have a discussion about should we be pursuing it? Let's make a case for it, a case against it. I'd like to have that
Absolutely.
discussion.
Okay. Anything else we're missing?
As somebody who actually put a mural in Old Town, granted it's inside,
But it's great.
yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for businesses, but I also don't, with limited funding, I would much rather find that as an economic incentive to drive businesses, new businesses, small businesses, than necessarily shift it to. I like the mix of art and art projects we get, so I don't know if. I think we get a lot of murals that are coming up, like the Specs one, and that's great, but it's primarily advertising. But I also like the old-timey Dr. Pepper ones and that kind of thing. But I also don't know if I really want the city funding somebody's it's advertising, not a mural. It gets into a gray area for me for that. So I'm okay with the way we do it now, which is, we do have some incentives for doing that as kind of a full package for if you're bringing a business in. But I don't know if I want to like tell our arts board, hey, let's pivot to murals.
Right.
That's just my 2 cents.
So I want to make sure we're giving good direction, Claire. I know you have to make a decision. Are we saying we don't want to even have the discussion, or are we saying
I think this is a little bit more pinpointed on art than probably what these things are, unless you're telling me. So I think we can bring that back for discussion, and then make sure we get full buy-in from council on pivoting funding in the future.
Incentives, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we're focused on key work still to be accomplished, are there any gaps in the accomplishment? We'll set this aside for an art conversation.
okay?
Is that fair?
And-
Fair?
And then the other thing, is there anything on here that you feel like you absolutely want to see in the next budget? Like, for example, I'm assuming Wi-Fi expansion in parks, you probably would want to see more of that budgeted, but are these things kind of like just put in the 2035 and have the 2035 committee look at, or is there things you want in short order?
For me, I think the Old Town business incubation in general, I think that really pops into, I don't think it needs to be a component of 2035 because that sets long-term strategy and vision. But I think we need to be curating. We've got a great opportunity. I've been popping onto Reddit here recently, just reading, just general things about Lewisville. And we're getting a little bit of buzz out there, which is interesting. We haven't had that before. There'll be the occasional, well, Lewisville's kind of, first ring suburb kind of comments, but then we get, hey, no, there's some great little areas that are starting to really pop that are interesting. You should go there. You should check it out. I think we need to, we need to strike while we can and really work on accelerating that, curating that kind of business attraction here in Lewisville.
Okay.
I'll just second that sentiment on that as well, because I do feel like we've, in the last 1 or 2 years, we have, we've been waiting for so long to get the residential in Old Town, and so we've finally gotten a lot of the residential, but the business side of it seems to be lagging behind, and I think there's definitely, we need to, before those spaces remain vacant for too long, because that really can have a very negative impact on trying to get more businesses interested. So I think that's an immediate need that we need to get in there immediately. And then, of course, I've been a huge fan of the park Wi-Fi. I think we need to have it at every single park, and so yes, that would be an immediate one in the upcoming budget that I would like to see as well.
Okay.
I concur. I like the idea of the continual park Wi-Fi expansion. I would love for Chris's team to give an analysis of where connectivity is going before we invest too heavily in this. Every year that advances. 3 years ago, hotspots used to cost by the megabyte to download. It's now part of most people's phone packages. So before we invest heavily in that, is there something on the horizon that makes this, in a year, it wasn't a good investment for us?
Yeah, I think Chris can actually talk about how we're achieving this has changed over the years with parks as well. Chris is.
Yes, absolutely, and thank you for the question, Councilman. One of the really neat things that we've been able to do this past year is change our delivery method. In years past, as you well know, we've been running fiber out to these parks to provide the backhaul for said services. And while that's very effective from a bandwidth standpoint, it's not necessarily the most, from a price standpoint, it's very expensive and very time consuming, right? So what we shifted to last year was really leveraging 5G, to your point. Now you've got bandwidth capabilities over wireless technologies that allow you to have sufficient backhaul to support the services at the park. In addition to that, one of the cool things that we've done is we're leveraging solar in areas that we don't have power. And so, for instance, over at Central Park, where we've got the public art piece, we wanted to get some type of visibility on that. However, there wasn't, again, any power, any type of fiber connection there. And so with this model, it enabled us to truly have a self-contained unit for a relatively low price point that we could stand up that would be self-sufficient to be able to take on these new responsibilities, if you will, without running all this legacy infrastructure. So absolutely, we're leveraging the emerging technologies in this, and this is really what's allowed us to advance the number of parks that we're going to be able to complete in an annual year.
Thank you for that. This is, when I think about, I had a conversation with my brother-in-law years ago. He wanted to do his whole house in Cat 6. It's an expensive proposition, did it, and then everything went Wi-Fi. So we wasted the money doing that. So I'm glad that you're looking at it. Thank you, Chris.